Not giving investment advice in any way, shape, or form. I just got a couple topics I want to talk about and give some insights. Um, I keep seeing, like, I scroll through Instagram, you keep seeing these, like, memes, whatever you want to call them. I'm sure they're memes. They're supposed to be educational content. And I feel like I got this thing where the way you think, when you have no money, what you think about people with money and how they get rich and how they manage their money, it's completely different than reality because you don't know because you're broke and you don't know anybody with money. And I feel like a lot of these memes, these things you see pop up, you see a lot of these people talking. Um, it's always not always, but often the people that don't have any money, but they're always giving you advice on what to do with your money. And I stumbled upon one that I'm just like, well, this is stupid. Like, this is like stupid, stupid. And that's the one I'm going to talk about today. And there's a lot of them out there. But I realized, like, I went from broke to having money, and I've seen both sides of it. And it's like, man, you think about how stupid you were when, you didn't have any money. It's like you don't know. You just kind of know what other people tell you. Everything's secondhand knowledge. But this post was something like most people will make $1 million in their lifetime. But so why don't we have more millionaires? And they did a quick calculation like $50,000 a year times 25 years. Oh, it's $1.25 million. Why don't we have more millionaires? And I'm like, oh geez. All right, so you got to pay some tax, even say low tax. You got to pay your entitlement taxes. You got to pay your Social Security, your Medicare, all that good stuff, right? So no matter what your tax rate is, that's 7.5% you got to pay. But let's just say that you don't have a bunch of write-offs and you don't have a bunch of kids, 20%, right? So out of that 1.2, you're going to pay probably $250,000 in taxes and entitlement taxes, state taxes over that 25-year period. So you're already down to 1 million. You're down to 1 million, and you haven't even put a French fry in your mouth yet. And then it's like you start thinking about, all right, well, what's it cost to live for 25 years? And inflation's crazy high right now. I just spent $15 on a Chipotle burrito, and that's living the luxury life, right? Let's just say you could get by eating on $10 a day, just yourself. And then we know there's 365 days in a year. So it's going to cost you, $3,600 a year just to feed yourself, to stay alive. That's without even buying some Red Bulls and stuff, right? And then this is by 25 years, and I know things get more expensive in inflation. I'm just doing some round numbers. Well, it's going to cost you probably $100,000 to just feed yourself. So now we're down to 900,000. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's this person's like, you're gonna make $1.25 million over this time frame. I'm like, by the time you pay taxes, by the time you feed yourself, and that is like the cheapest amount you could probably get away with is $10. You need clothes, you need toothpaste, you probably need deodorant, you got some healthcare expenses, you need some kind of transportation, maybe a haircut once in a while. Do you ever take a vacation? Do you need furniture, or do you need a pot to cook your food? At $50,000 a year, by the time you pay your taxes and live, there's no money left over. So to me, it's just like another dumb meme that's got like 50,000 likes on it, and no one ever sat back to actually run the math and say, "Oh, this really doesn't make any sense." And then it's like, well, how do you expect to get out of your financial struggle if you keep listening to people that don't even know what the hell they're talking about? And let's just say this. Let's just say you started off with $100 in a. I'm going to put $100 in the S&P 500. Excuse me. Every month for 25 years. I'm going to start with $100. If you're making $50,000 a year, if you're super budget minded and you don't have like 10 kids and a bunch of credit card debt, you could probably save $100 a month if you really scrounge up cash. And then Every year it's going to be $1,200. We're going to add to that pile. And it's going to be 25 years, because I'm just going off the guy's thing of 25 years. Interest rate, I think, don't quote me on this, over the last 30 years, roughly a 10.2% return rate on S&P 500. We'll compound this thing one time annually. I think the 10.2, just so you know, I think that when they post that number, that includes, reinvesting and buying more in S&P, reinvesting in dividends and whatnot. So there. In 25 years, even if you just say it's $100 a month, you would have $135,000. But with inflation, what's $135,000 in 25 years? Realistically, if you even want to see that number, you're gonna have to say $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year. I know people that do that. I know people that live, ball around a budget. Start with $500 in the account. We're gonna do $6,000 a year in annual deposits. Everything else stays the same. Okay, well that number jumps a lot, right? Once that gets rolling pretty nice. So now you're up to $650,000, $700,000. If you started doing this when you're 20, this is at 45. If you retire at 65, let's just say you do this for 40 years. We can go 45. We'll do 40 years. Start when you're in your early 20s. You end when you're in your early 60s. If you could just save $500 a month, reinvest it all and get 10.2%, reinvest the dividends, all that good stuff. By the time you retire, you have $3.1 million. That's just from saving $500 a month. Now you hope that as you get into your 30s and 40s, you start making more than $50,000 a year, but then life probably gets more complicated too. Do you get married? Do you have a spouse? Do you have kids? Do you want a bigger home? Do your parents get sick? I take care of my family. I take care of my father. I pay for all of his stuff. That money adds up. But, when they talk about, why isn't there more millionaires with people making $50,000 a year over a lifetime? It's because life's expensive. Figure out what's a minimum you need to live and then work back from there. So it's not, I think a lot of people, you could work your way up and start saving $500 a month. If you're dual income, very well possible. By the time you retire, you're millionaires. This is way more realistic than the meme post. I'm not even sure most of those people have ever said go play around with a compound interest calculator to see how things go. But this is what I always did when I was younger. I started doing math like this to figure out what I needed to do to achieve the financial goals I wanted to achieve. Being more realistic though, okay? Let's just say you're making $50,000 a year. With taxes, with all the credits and stuff going on, you're paying 15% taxes, $7,500. So that's going to leave you $42,500. All right, so we'll work off that number. You can find rent cheap somewhere in Michigan. That's about $700. You might get something cheaper. That's about the cheapest I've seen for a place that is, a reasonable joint to live in. When I say reasonable, bare basics. Probably a 20-year-old apartment that hasn't had the kind of place I grew up in as a kid. Not nice, but nice enough. That alone, that rent's going to cost you $8,400. So we're at $8,400. You're probably going to spend more like $15 a day feeding yourself in this economy. So there, round up with some incidentals and whatnot, you're up to about $15,000 to get your rent paid, feed yourself. Using round numbers here. That's leaving you $27,500. You figure your electric bill, utilities, cell phone, cable. If you're really cheap at stuff, $200 a month for all that. So another $2,500 a year. Probably got to kick into your medical. Let's just say that's $200 a month for your health care. You got to kick in. So down another $2,500. Cheap car payment, car insurance. I mean, I'm talking like nothing nice here. You're going to spend with gas, small car payment, insurance. You're probably going to spend, we're talking baller on a budget here, another $7,000. If you live in a city, maybe you got public transportation or something. down to 15.5. So you fed yourself, you got your utilities paid for, you got your taxes paid, take care of a car, you got your health insurance taken care of. Then we can talk about entertainment budget. Entertainment is not a requirement. You don't need that to live. That's a quality of life aspect, and we don't need to go to the bar. We don't need to go to the restaurant. We don't need to travel. We'd like to, but here's what you're looking at. If you made, if you get, I'm talking no kids. I'm a single person making 50 grand a year. You're left with 15.5. Now we said we only got to save 6 grand a year to achieve a reasonable amount of savings over there. So we're going to say minus 600 or 6,000. That's going to go into your savings, into your investments, whatever you're going to do. That leaves you with about $9,500 in, working capital to either put more money into savings, to save money to buy a home, whatever it is you might do. Entertainment, travel, divide that by 12. That comes down to $800 a month. Maybe you spend more on food. Maybe you're not doing $15 a day. Maybe you're eating out more. Maybe you're spending $25 a day. Maybe you're spending, you need other money. You got to buy clothes. You need pots and pans. There's things you need to replace. You need toothpaste, shampoo. That's going to eat away at this money. But I just showed you that spend $50,000 a year, you could have an apartment, you could have a car, you could have health insurance, you could be saving for retirement and have a little bit of money left over. Multiply this by 2. If it's a dual income, you're making $100,000 between the two of you, and you get to split some of these bills up. You can get by. And the reason why I'm doing all this is because my dad made like no money an hour in a steel factory, and we still found a way to live. And I would never say we were poor. I'd say we struggled at times for many other reasons outside of not having the ability to make money. But it's like, this is where I can see where if you want to talk about people becoming millionaires, start saving $500 a month and invest it in something. Talk to a financial professional and get a decent amount of investments going. That's how you're going to get $1 million. Not just by saying that you're going to make $1 million over your lifetime. Why don't we have more millionaires? Because life's expensive. But I can see these people out there. It's like, oh yeah, why ain't I a millionaire? I'm going to make $1 million in my lifetime. Hey, if you can find a way to go 25 years or 30 years without spending any money to live, then yeah, it'll work. But that's not reality. Add in kids now. These numbers just get chewed up, right? It's $50,000 and having like a spouse and kids, one income. That's gonna be tough. But if you can figure that out, now you got the child care credits, right? You get 30 something, 3 or 4 grand a kid. So that would help offset the cost depending on how you live. I grew up. There's times when times are tough, you didn't have much. But I go back to my old neighborhood, and you see 10-year-olds with iPhones and shit, and it's just like, that house costs $80,000, and then kids got a $1,500 iPhone. Like, what the hell's going on? Anyways, just something I want to talk about. I keep seeing these memes pop up, and man, if you want to think about getting $100,000 in the bank, getting $250,000 in the bank, getting $1 million in the bank, or retirement, go find a compound interest calculator and play around with this. And this is where you can start to begin to set your own financial goals. How much money are you starting with? And how much do you plan on adding every year? And granted, not everyone's going to get 10%. If you're trading on your own, who knows what you might get? Can your financial planner get that? I don't know. You need to go talk to some people. But I think over average, 10% is what I think they say in the S&P 500. So I'm using that number. It's not going to happen in savings accounts these days, it seems. Like they're paying like 0.25% at best or something. But you can use these numbers to try to figure out what it is I need to save every month to hit my financial goal in how many years. Go play around with this before you get your advice from like memes. This right here can help you figure it out yourself. But anyways, that's all I got for this one. I'm going to catch you on the next one.